Hi, friend. Welcome to Wild and Waking, a sacred space for the woman unraveling what no longer fits, remembering the truth that's always lived inside her, reclaiming her joy, her voice, her power, and rising fully, fiercely, and without apology. I'm your host, Emily Rushell, and together we'll explore what it means to live in alignment, lead with soul, and awaken a life of abundance, authenticity, and purpose. Let's begin. Hello, and welcome back to Wild and Waking. Okay, what we're going to talk about today has been specifically requested by the women who are in my Coven group. This is a group of women who are really all coming together at a specific, season in time as we, unravel limiting beliefs, unravel old identities, old ideologies. We start, kind of remembering who we were before all of these scripts and rules and expectations that we were handed. It's where we are reclaiming our voice and our sovereignty and our truth, and ultimately rising into leaders that are changing the world. And a conversation that has come up a lot is what this work looks like with our kids, right? And especially as we are, predominantly in our 30s, 40s, 50s, going through these really messy journeys of asking questions, especially up against things that we were told are capital T truth. Like some of the things that our inner compass is so tightly wrapped around. And now we're doing this work of asking a lot of questions. It's very disorienting. And as we are looking to raise the next generation, as so many of us are, trying to figure out how do we equip them in ways that we weren't, and how do we empower them in ways that we weren't, and how do we give them information and autonomy and sovereignty that we weren't. It's just an ongoing thing. So earlier this week, I shared some phrases and some ways that we have these conversations in our house in a way that I feel really, really good about. And I think that this applies to conversations about pretty much anything, right? And actually, I've been approaching conversations like this long before I really jumped into the journey that I'm at now. It is of utmost importance to me that my kids go through their life understanding that they can discern and they can trust themselves, right? They don't need to look to someone else for the thumbs up, for the approval, for the checklist, for the rules, for the expectations, for the capital T truth. I want them to be able to move through the world, taking in information through the lens in which they understand it now, and then they get to decide what that looks like for them. And just to set the stage, I think this is really important for our family because we have people that we are in relationship with who are on a very broad spectrum of political, religious, spiritual, philosophical belief systems. And I think in a lot of spaces, that is scary, right? And it's like if you don't follow these exact rules, if you do not ascribe to this exact same doctrine that we as a nuclear family do, then everyone else is wrong. They're bad. They are doomed. They're going to hell. They're against you. And that is the opposite of what I would like to equip my kids with. And what's interesting is actually, these conversations really allow a lot of space for conversation around Santa, around magic, around all sorts of different things. And so basically, anytime something comes up, I think especially the big topics that continue to come to mind are politics, are religion, spirituality, but it really could be absolutely anything. We bring it back to, when they have a question or we're trying to have a conversation with them, we say, some people believe, or some people think, or some people see the world, or some people understand, and then we explain. Or we might even say what I grew up with, or and this can apply to so many different demographics and belief systems. So we do our best, at least in the understanding and capacity that we have, to explain what that demographic or group of people might be coming from. And just to even bring it back to the Santa conversation, because I feel like that is a really concrete example that we can relate to. We're like, well, some people believe that, Santa does this, or that the elves do that, or on this movie, they show it like this, or in this movie, they show the North Pole looks like this. And then we always bring it back to, what do you think? Right? And so then the kids kind of can filter it through their understanding of the world. And I'm not giving them the answer that I believe is the capital T truth, right? Related to any category. And they get to kind of be like, in the Santa example, well, in this movie, the way that they show this, I think that's the way it really is. Or, it's just putting the ball back in their court to filter their understanding of the world and really be guided by their inner knowing or their perception to be able to land on a truth that makes sense to them in this moment. And we always tell them, you get to take in all of the information in the world and you get to decide what you believe. And those beliefs can and will change. It's always important to know that you can trust yourself. And my husband and I are very open around, some of the things that we used to believe or some of the things that we were once told and the journeys that we've gone through to question that or expand past it, or like the times that we've wanted more information or something didn't quite make sense. But at the end of the day, like my husband and I especially hold a lot of the belief of like, none of us really fully know. Like we are all out here doing our best to try to figure it out. And anyone who is trying to tell you that their one way is the only right way is like manipulating or using their fear or their insecurity or their, lack of trust in the unknown to like find security and try to like bring you into the safety of the cage that they're in. And you don't have to do that. And we also really come back to different people believe different things, and that's okay. Or that's, we try to explain why different people believe different things. Well, based on the way that they see the world this way, based on, these lived experiences, based on where they live, like this might be why they're coming to this with this certain set of beliefs. Like, let's try to understand where this comes from. And yes, obviously we're talking about these really big, grandiose topics when it comes to that. But even as simple as like conversations around friendships, right? My older two are in first and third grade. And so, they'll come home from school. Well, this person likes this thing. And maybe this person thinks it's weird that I like this thing. Or this person's wearing this type of shoes or whatever it is. Or we see people out and about and, kids are curious and they point out different things. We're like, yeah, different people like different things. That's okay. You don't have to like it. Your friends don't have to like all of the exact same things you do. Like, it really invites a conversations of what does it mean to be in relationship with people who have different interests in you, even if it's like baseball versus football versus picking up a paintbrush versus playing with tractors outside, right? Like you can be in proximity to people in your life and you don't always have to have the exact same set of agreeances on every single little possible thing in order to maintain a relationship. Now, of course, we are also trying to help them understand the complexities of the world and like how, people come into the belief systems and ideologies that they do and trying to explain like systems of harm to a 7 and 9-year-old is also incredibly complicated. So, sometimes there's things where if I do have a strong opinion about something that I'm seeing, I will provide as much bare bone factual data of like, this has happened, here's what this person has said, here's what they've done, here's the way that makes me feel. But here's why some people like this and some people agree with this. This is especially pertinent right now in politics. I mean, we live in a very small town, a rural community, and most of the kids that they go to school with, probably their families likely voted in a way that's different than the way that I see the world. And that is a reality. So often I will see online people with a more of a liberal mindset that are like, cut off everyone, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, that's great until you live here and your entire physical ecosystem is the very people that you're telling me to like excommunicate from. Like, that's just not realistic. So, I bring like very factual points of here are some things that have happened. Here's the way it makes me feel. Here's why it goes against what I believe is true. Like, what do you think? And, they kind of really get to sit with that. And again, we come back to you will be in community, you will be in relationship, you will be in proximity to people who have different sets of belief systems. And it is the most important thing to me that you can filter what's going on around you. You can discern, you can read between the lines, you can be sovereign, so that they are not susceptible to other people imposing their beliefs, their ideologies, their cages, their small-mindedness, their rules onto these little people. Now, will they be susceptible in some ways because they are human and have this desire for belonging in the world? Sure, probably. But it is my number one goal to raise children who are sovereign and who can trust their guts, who know what it feels like to listen to their body, who know what it feels like to get a yucky gut feeling and follow that, who can read a headline or hear a story and be able to ask real questions beneath the surface to like be able, I keep coming back to discern. I feel like that needs to be in the title somehow. To be able to discern, like, how do I feel about that? And is that true? And if other people believe that's true, why? And do I ascribe by that same set of values? Does that rub up against what I know in my heart is my desire to carry through in the world? And it's, I think especially this comes up with religion, with spirituality. Like, it is impossible that there is one right way, right? Every religion, every church, every denomination has a set of beliefs, has a set of whatever that those people have communed together and agreed upon. But it literally does not make sense that one of them is right and literally every single other one is wrong. Like, let's be real here, guys. So I want them to be able to enter those situations and be able to, if they choose to go down a religious path, to be able to find a space that aligns with the truth that they know in their heart and that they feel nurtured and fulfilled, and where they're not going to be susceptible to someone else's like, follow these rules, fit in this box or else mentality. And even recently, one of them was asking some questions about some interesting experiences we had in our house with some spirits, and that's a conversation for another day. And I was explaining my understanding and my perspective and, kind of what I was doing as an energy worker to work with that and to move through it and rid some of the things that we were experiencing. And one of them said, like, we've had very open dialogue about it. And I actually said to one of them, I'm like, I don't know if you have this conversation with a lot of people, if they'll understand. And they were like, oh, yeah, I know. And they compared it to like Percy Jackson, right? If you're familiar with that book series, it's this boy who like realizes he's a demigod and is like a descendant of Poseidon, and it's all Greek mythology based. He was like, yeah, he moves through the world and he sees and experiences things that other people don't, and it's like not even worth explaining. I was like, yeah, it's kind of like that. And so he was like, but is it real? And I was like, well, here's a concrete example. I was like, well, here's what I'm experiencing. Here's what I'm learning. I'm very new to this journey. But this is the way certain things have felt in my body. This is what I've experienced. This is what I've come to understand. Like, you've been here. What do you think? And again, going back to my experience, my filter, but what do you think? Here's what I'm learning. Here's what I know. Here's what I can see. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And it's not, sometimes it might be my job to challenge that, not in a negative way, but to ask further questions. Like, why do you think that? How does that make your body feel? What else could be true? Why could that not be true? What might someone else think? And this is how I believe we are creating people who are coming into the world with curiosity and open minds and being willing to discern and go through thought processes. And like, I don't know, whatever you call the scientific method or something, but being able to ask deeper sets of questions so that they're just not fed something at face value and being like, oh, yeah, that's just the way it is. Like, no, I want them to be sovereign, to asking questions, to be challenging, and to have the discernment to find the places that feel good and feel like home. Right? This isn't like throw everything out the window and like nothing is true, but like what is true for you? And I consistently tell them, like, I am obsessed with learning new information. Here's the books that I'm reading. Here's a new idea that I'm exploring. Like, I hope that 5 years from now, my understanding of the world has evolved so much that what I know right now feels like semi irrelevant. I'm like, oh, that's cute. That's cute. And so I'm really bringing them along that journey. And so this has come up many times in the Coven, especially as people's faith is changing or expanding. And now, kids will out you anywhere, right? And like interactions with grandparents have come up, or, there's like different sides of the family with different political tensions. Maybe someone hears something at school, like they catch a, older kid on the bus talking about something that was on the news. Their teacher shares something, like whatever it may be. Like, our kids are sponges for information. And if we don't teach them how to go through the thought process of deciding, what their truth is and what their understanding is, then it just leaves them billowing in the wind at the whim of, whatever is happening around them. And so, or to feel shame or confusion, if they have someone in their life who's telling them, if you don't believe this one specific thing, then you're damned to hell, or you're not a good person, or you're blah, 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 blah. And it's like, that's what you think. But is that true for everyone? Right? So again, I'm going to repeat the phrases because they found this to be really, really helpful. But some people believe, or some people think, and just like explaining the perspective, the point of view, or the different ideas, turning it back on, what do you think? What do you believe? How does that feel in your body? Like, what else could be true? Why would someone think that, right? Inviting them into the exploration process, inviting them into the practice of leaning in to trust themselves, and just coming back to, you get to take in all the information in the world. I can share what I know. I can share what I believe, but you get to take it all in and form your own understanding and your beliefs. And they should, and they will change over time. That is okay. Right? That's what so many women that I'm working with right now are grappling with. It's like the rug was pulled out from under them. The entire scaffolding of their belief system was removed because it was so tightly around this one specific thing. So like giving them the permission and the invitation, and like not even knowing a world other than like, yeah, your belief system should evolve and change as you evolve and change. And just bringing them back to like, you can trust yourself, you can trust yourself, you can trust yourself. Like, that's building a kind of confidence that is irreplaceable. We want our kids to go through the world confidently. We want our kids to make good decisions. We want our kids to be able to show up as their authentic selves. If we don't empower them to trust themselves, that's where they're on shaky ground. That's when they're living into other people's expectations. That's when they're drowning in the, what will they think? What will this person think? What will they do? Like, build that confidence in every conversation by bringing them home to themselves from day one. And also giving them the understanding and the context that different people believe different things. And that's okay. I say that, and we are seeing the crashing and roaring of many toxic belief systems not being okay. So I want to add an asterisk there of, if that's the case, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about some of these other things, or just even giving the context, again, and now I'm being repetitive, but giving the context of why different people believe different things, and that like, you don't have to believe the same things that everyone else does. Your friend can like pink and you can like purple, and that is beautiful, right? We are all just out here trying to figure it out. I say that phrase all the time. I'm a mom for the first time. We're all just out here trying to figure it out. Everyone's just trying to do the best with the skills that they have, with the information that they have, with what they know, with what makes them feel safe, and just helping create the safety within themselves so that they can do that without drowning in fear and insecurity along the way. Am I doing it perfectly? Hell no. Am I a perfect mom? Absolutely not. But if these conversations have been coming up in your house too, and you don't know how to handle them, because what the heck are you supposed to do when your kid's like, well, grandpa said, if you don't do this, you're going to hell. And you're like, oh, I wasn't prepared for this. This was not in the parenting manual. maybe this will be helpful. Or, like I said, the Santa or the Easter Bunny, like whatever things. Like, I think we make these conversations a much bigger deal because we're like, oh my gosh, I've been lying. Like, we are all about the magic around here. And like, if my kid asks me, is such and such real? What's this like? I will be like, well, here's what I see. What do you believe? Like, it really does actually keep the magic going on much longer because they have decided what they want to believe. It's super cool. And I never feel like I'm pulling a fast one on my kids because I tell them, well, here's what I see. Here's what I notice. Here's what I believe. Here's what this movie shows. What do you believe? Okay. Anyway, that's a silly example, but I think you can apply it to a lot of situations. I hope this was helpful. If it was, send it to like your mom friend group, send it to your partner, send it to whomever. Hit me up in the DMs. Let me know how it lands for you. And if there's ever something that comes into mind that you're like, I would love to hear a solo episode riff on how this is showing up, shoot me a message. I would love to serve you in that way. So until next time, I am seriously so forever grateful for you. Hey friend, I hope this conversation sparked something real in you. Something that feels like truth, curiosity, or the courage to keep becoming. If this episode resonated, I'd love for you to share it. Take a screenshot, post it to your stories, or send it to one of your friends. You can always find me over on Instagram at Emily Rushel, where I love continuing these conversations and hearing your takeaways. Truly, your DMs are one of my favorite parts of podcasting, so don't be shy. I'd love to reflect and connect with you over there. I'm so grateful to be surrounded by a community of women who ask hard questions, sit in the discomfort of the unknown, blaze new paths forward, and ultimately come home to their wild and waking selves. See you next week.